Let me tell you the inside reality of working in a consulting firm. You must have heard about the 14-15 hours workday, the continuous travel, the constant hotel stays, but those are not the real struggles. I've been to such firms and many of my batchmates are still working in some of the top tier consulting firms, and believe me when I say this, the 14-15 hours workday is not even a concern. In fact, we signed up for that. It was expected and we have been trained to do that. But we all know that if we want to get asymmetric returns, if we want to earn 1 crore in 5-6 years in any profession, we have to show asymmetric work. But the real struggle is something else that no one talks about. But before I start, let me warn you, if you leave without watching the last chapter, you will leave with a biased mindset, and I don't want you to do that. In fact, this is not a video against consulting. After watching the complete video, some of you would be like, wow, this is exactly the place where I want to be, whereas some of you would absolutely hate to work in such kind of a place. But this is the reality. Let me take you through the entire journey in consulting. And a lot of people say that consultants are hired on the basis of their degree. They do not have the skills. If you're from a top tier college, you will be hired, which is kind of true, but you have to understand how difficult it will be for you to survive without the skills, because recruitment is just one part of the process. Within the firm as well, there are multiple layers of interview, which they call the internal screening. So how it happens is, once you're selected in the firm, once you go there, before every project, your CV is shared with the project team. Then they will shortlist the specific CVs, then they will take your interviews as well. And once you qualify those interviews, your CV will be forwarded to the client side, and the clients will then evaluate your CV, take your interview, and only then you will be allotted the project. So it's not a simple process. There are multiple layers of internal screening, even after you have graduated, even after you have actually made it to the firm. So imagine you compete with the best minds of your college, you make it to a consulting firm. So already it's very filtered, and now you have to compete with the best minds of, say, IIM Ahmedabad, Bangalore, Calcutta, ISB, all the top B schools now together competing for a certain set of projects. And why do these people compete for a certain set of projects? Because obviously some projects are better than the others, where it is expected that you will learn more, where it is expected that the project will have more visibility, and maybe the project involves more strategic work compared to the others. Suppose there can be another project which is full of due diligence or operational work. A lot of people do not want to touch those projects. A lot of people want to switch to, say, strategic side of things, which even if it requires more hours of work, but you have more visibility in that work, you have more accountability, and it's interesting work as well. And that's why a lot of people want to switch to those projects, and there's this constant hustle and struggle to get into such projects through this internal screening. But if you think you hustle, you get a great project and your struggles are over, it is unlikely going to be the case, because then comes the second enemy of every consultant, the rating system. So after every project, you are rated on your performance. So a project may last, say, 4 months, 5 months. After that, you will be provided a rating, and this rating becomes a benchmark to select your next project. Obviously, projects that will check your last rating, and if it's not good enough, they will not select you, especially if the project has a lot of people in line. They will select the best people. They will not select you if the word goes around that you did not deliver such a good performance. You have to choose among the leftovers, and now you have to work extra hard in your next project to make sure that feedback does not become your reality. Otherwise, if your rating is consistently low, it will become very difficult to survive in a consulting firm. And when I say your rating can be low, understand your performance is measured on a bell curve. That is, it's a relative performance against your peers. So you could have performed decently, but if your peers have exceeded their expectations, then anyway you will fall on the lower end of the bell curve. And remember what I told about who you're competing against. It's some of the filtered minds from some of the top colleges in your country. And under this competition, if you're consistently rated low, if you're at the lower end of the bell curve, you will be very politely asked to leave. Most consulting firms have this absolute strict up or out policy, which means either you are good enough to be promoted to the next level in the required amount of time, or if you cannot achieve that, you will be asked to leave because it's good for you as well. And while you might get great options outside because of your pedigree, because of the consulting firm's brand name, however, it's a big hit to your ego. And if you think by now this rating system, the bell curve, is absolutely intimidating, very criminal thing to do, I haven't even scratched the surface. Wait till I go to the next part, and that is is you are put on trial every day. So you go to any top tier consultant and you will get a mutual feeling that no matter how good I have worked throughout my tenure, no matter how good I've worked on this particular project, it feels like every day my reputation is at stake. It's not like one week I work extremely hard and the next week I can relax a little. I have to be there with the full intensity every week, every day, because there's something high stakes thing happening every day. Either it's a client deliverable that has to be sent out, or it might be a high stakeholder client presentation that you have to give. So every day it feels like your reputation is at stake, and one mistake you feel, especially I've seen this among the top tier IIM graduates, one mistake and they feel like it's over, their credibility is at stake. It's like, what will happen with my career? This feeling does creep in even after years of being in consulting, which means after working for 14-15 hours with full intensity, the 14-15 hours work day is not the most concerning part. Rather, it's this feeling of not being credible enough, because if you're working with 14-15 hours with full intensity, there is a possibility there might be inaccuracies in your calculation on your deck, and if you start questioning your credibility after every small mistake, if it always stays in your mind, certainly it's not a good feeling. It absolutely drains you out. So it is this particular thing and not the 14-15 hour work day. And that actually takes me to the next important thing, and that's the most important thing if you want to understand whether the consulting environment would be the right fit for you or not, and that's the culture conundrum. If you're someone who likes to be patted on his back for every good thing that you do, wants to be appreciated every now and then probably consulting is not for you. Because yes, there are awards, there are appreciations that you will get, but for that one day of appreciation, you cannot live under criticism for every day. And that's something very important to consider, because you cannot expect a lot of empathy as well, either from your clients or from your managers in an organization like this. Obviously, your managers have been promoted in a certain way, they have worked in a certain kind of environment, and they believe that it is how the consulting organizations work. This is how the culture should be. This is how a good team and productivity should look like. So they cannot help it. They have grown in this kind of an environment. Clients as well have invested heavily in you. They want to squeeze every bit of work. Obviously, if someone is investing so much and an outsider comes and consults them, they will see them with a hint of skepticism. So you cannot expect a lot of empathy. Yes, it's not that it's an absolute apathy, no one cares about anyone else, but it depends on your project, on your client, on your manager's team and overall aspects as well. But yes, in general, what you can expect is consulting basically is somewhere a lot of overachievers, lot of academically brilliant people have come together in a particular firm, assembled together, and now they are part of the same team, but also competing against each other to prove to their seniors and to prove to their clients. So you can expect that kind of an environment, a very competitive, cutthroat environment always you would be under. And in case you are someone who does not appreciate that kind of an environment every day in your life, probably consulting is not for you. Now coming to the last part that I specifically asked you to stick around, because if I've told everything negative about consulting firms, a lot of biases and everything happens inside, then why do people still stick to consulting, and why do people still want to enter into consulting firms? Don't they know about it? See, it's not only about the money. If it was only about the money, people would have left long back. Rather, what it is about the learning aspects in consulting as well. Whatever things I mentioned, whether it is about facing criticism, whether it is about cutthroat competition, all of these things, do you expect will not happen outside? Suppose you go for a business, you will face a lot of rejections, a lot of criticism, a lot of cutthroat competition, unfair activities as well that will happen. You cannot expect everyone to work according to you. You cannot expect empathy from everyone as well. So this is also a kind of an environment that actually hardens you. It is preparing you for future rejections, future criticism, and taking the hard bets that a lot of other people in other professions would avoid. And that's why consultants are so respected in other industries as well. If you want to switch, if you want to exit from a consulting firm to some other business side of things, people like consultants because they have been hardened. They can face that criticism yet take certain decisions which probably the other people will back off from in the fear of facing criticism. So all of these things actually hardens you. It might feel like a golden cage till chapter 4, whatever I've mentioned, that everything is bad, cutthroat competition, everything. But in real life, it hardens you as well. So it's also a life skill that you've been learning all along. And now add to it the money that you get, the lavish lifestyle that you get. And on top of that, the most important thing is the steep learning curve as well. So what happens is 4-5 months you work on a project, but during those 4-5 months, you are actually working with someone in the domain, either from the client side or your own consulting firm who has worked in the same domain for 10-15 years. So 10-15 years of domain knowledge you have absorbed in 4-5 months of project, and you're actually making strategic recommendations on that particular domain as well. So just imagine the steep learning curve that you get. You cannot get this kind of a learning curve in any other profession, and that's why switching from consulting becomes so easy, because if there's a person on the business side who has worked say for 10 years, 15 years versus a consultant who has worked in the same domain for 5 years, but that 5 years of working in consulting, they have worked with some of the most reputed industry veterans, and that gives them a lot more credibility, and that's why consultants are so respected, so much sought after, and paid so highly as well. So I hope now you understand it's nothing like absolutely good or absolutely bad about consulting. There are pros and cons, and it depends on you as a person, what is suited according to your profile and what you want out of your profession. So if after hearing all this you want to get into consulting, I'll soon release a video on what exactly do consultants do, what kind of skills you need to get into consulting, and how you can exactly get into a top consulting firm. So that's it for this particular video. If you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure you do for these kind of videos. See you in the next one.